I, female, 24, just got married to my husband Terry, male, 23. We've been friends for over a decade, having gone to the same school together and sharing the same hobbies. In fact, our first date was after Terry and I won a quiz championship for our club together. I don't mean to brag, but our relationship is really cute, and we have a lot of cool little traditions. Another one of our shared hobbies is our love for Disney. We love the characters, the art, the music, all of it. Terry collects Disney memorabilia, and I make fan art of Disney characters as a side project. You could say it's brought us closer together. We've been dating since we were 16, and my lovely boyfriend is now my lovely husband. He proposed to me right after college, and we got married last month. Our engagement was quite long because we wanted to save up and settle a little before coming together as husband and wife. Thankfully, things worked out quite well. Both of us have good jobs, are financially pretty responsible, and even have a decent chunk of money saved up. This money will allow us to pay for a small traditional wedding and a 2-week honeymoon. After a lot of agonizing over where we should go and what we should do, we finally figured out the answer: Disneyland Paris. It was a super romantic city, and we could have our own thing along with the more traditionally romantic vibe of candlelit dinners, red wine, and smooching by the Eiffel Tower. It was coming along perfectly, and both Terry and I were super excited about it because we'd been so frugal. Neither he nor I had taken a vacation from work once in our professional careers. During the wedding planning, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were quite involved. My sister-in-law, Bianca, female 20, also has a child of her own, Hunter, male 2. The baby's daddy is basically out of the picture when it comes to parenting, but he does send a check every now and then. Their relationship is kind of toxic, and obviously Bianca struggles as a single mother. Everyone in the family tries to chip in and help her, including Terry. He's always been there for Hunter, and we make sure that there's no need to skimp on his needs. Because of the fact that Bianca was struggling financially, I didn't mention much about our honeymoon. It is a pretty extravagant thing as compared to our wedding. However, the two of them got to talking about honeymoon ideas while we were out shopping, and I had to say, sorry guys, we already have something planned. This defo wasn't the best idea because my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are super persistent, so they kept asking about it. I kept shut though, but just a week later, my doofus of a man, Terry, mentioned it during a family dinner. Obviously, after that point, Bianca began to feel insecure about how we were spending our money, and it affected the way she interacted with us too. It made the wedding super awkward, and it was clear that she was wrestling with the idea of us going away on such an expensive honeymoon. I told Terry about how she may be feeling, and we both decided it would be best to let her come to us or bring up the issue if she felt like it. We wouldn't mention it or make her feel cornered. Soon enough, Bianca did come to speak to us just a week after the wedding ended. It was just a casual visit with her and Hunter, and when the kiddo went away to play, she spoke to us about what she had in mind. She wanted us to take Hunter along on the vacation. I could see that this was a tough thing for her to ask of us, and she opened up about how hard it is to try and go to college while raising a kid. Even though her parents helped her take care of Hunter, she felt like he was excluded and never got to enjoy things as other people did. I remember her saying, "Oh, P, you have no idea how exhausting it is, and I don't want to be a bad mama who can't give her son the fun experiences you expect as a kid. Can you please take him along with you?" Emotionally, both Terry and I felt really bad for my sister-in-law, but from a practical point of view, it would have been really tough to pull this off. Besides, we were on our honeymoon, and it wasn't just a trip to Disneyland. We'd be doing honeymoony things, if that makes sense. It would be awkward to take along a little kid when there were a lot of romantic detours and events planned as well. Like, we couldn't show up with Hunter to a wine tasting, could we? Of course, while Terry felt the same way, we had that nonverbal conversation that couples do, he wasn't going to be the one to break the news to his sister, so I had to do it. I explained everything to her and told her that as much as we understood where she was coming from, it wasn't something that was feasible for us. She looked crestfallen and left with Hunter after asking us to sleep on it. When she left, I asked for Terry's opinion on whether I had done the right thing, and he sided with me. I mean, it wasn't like this trip was done with throwaway money for us either, and we had to plan super carefully to make it happen. He also added a point that we had kind of booked Airbnbs in slightly sketchy areas. That's what our research told us. And while we understood the risks and precautions to take, it wasn't like a 2-year-old would understand. I thought that it would be water under the bridge, and Bianca would also realize that she was asking too much of us. But I guess she went home and confided in her parents. Obviously, I don't know what exactly she told them, but it was clear that my in-laws 110% think I am in the wrong. I got a call from my mother-in-law where she was passive-aggressive and cold to me, and she ended by saying, "Just because you've married into the family, it doesn't mean you're family yet. OP, I hope you know actions speak louder than words." Now, I feel terrible and worried that my in-laws hate me. AITA for refusing Bianca point blank? Update 1. I spoke to Terry about how I felt like the blame was being pinned on me, and he felt really upset by the way his parents had treated me. He told me that he'll call them and tell them that not only were we kind to Bianca, but we have always helped her in the past and that it was a decision he was also on board with. I hope the call goes well, but apart from that, we're also thinking of ways to help out Bianca. Something that really stuck with me was her complaining that she couldn't do anything fun with her son because she was always so worried about the basics along with college. Besides, she's only 18, and I'm sure she didn't mean to turn the family against me by ranting about our conversation. Hopefully, after speaking to her again, we could come to an understanding and stop this petty distance. I love Terry, and that means I love his family too. There are 3 weeks to go before our flight to Paris, so in that time, we could sort something out. Update 2. Terry put his foot down on the call with his parents, and I'm super grateful for that. Once they realized that it was not just me deciding for the both of us, they were a little more open to understanding the reasoning behind not letting Hunter tag along. After that, we asked if we could all meet and clear the air, and we visited the in-laws along with Bianca. First off, I started by apologizing for being a little blunt and not considering any alternatives, but also said that it was important to establish a boundary. I think Bianca had also realized that on her own, too, because she agreed with everything I said and apologized for springing this on us. Mother-in-law and father-in-law were happy to see how we ended up resolving it by ourselves. And then they contributed the best idea of all. They wanted to treat Bianca and Hunter to a vacation with them. It makes perfect sense. My father-in-law has an RV, which he loves, but doesn't get a lot of use. And they're retired and great with Hunter since they spend a lot of time together anyways. They planned a little road trip across the West Coast, and it sounded super fun. Bianca was grateful that her parents were understanding of her situation and agreed to the idea. It's a great compromise, and we also know that Hunter would love something like this. After all, he's going to new places surrounded by the people he loves. I hope the little tyke has tons of fun. We would have loved to come along too, but we'll be on our honeymoon at around the same time. I'm glad that my husband's family was willing to listen and understand why it was important for us to do this as a couple. I mean, it was still a honeymoon, even if Disneyland was involved. Update 3. A small update. We just came back from France and it was amazing. It felt so unique and special. Terry and I had a blast. But that's not what the update is about. We bought a ton of souvenirs for the family, and when we went to go give them to Hunter and Bianca, they thanked us. She said that the road trip not only allowed her to spend time with her son, but it got her closer to her parents too. After getting pregnant and moving to college, there was a lot of distance between her and her parents, and she didn't realize how much that affected her until recently. It was super sweet, and I'm glad she didn't think there was anything unfair about the compromise. I mean, it makes sense that she didn't. I really see that she asked us for her son's happiness, so since Hunter was so dang excited for the road trip, she naturally enjoyed it too. Well, this ended up pretty much solving itself. That's a good sign that I'll get along with Terry's family. When we have the time and money, we'll definitely take my sister-in-law and her son to Disneyland again. And hopefully, by then, finances will never be an issue for us as a fam. NaH. I mean, your sister-in-law is a mild AH since she kind of acts entitled to your honeymoon. That entitlement is bad. But when I think about the stressful situation she's in, I can kind of condone it, especially because she was so quick to realize where she went wrong. NTA. Your sister-in-law was being immature and unreasonable. Trips abroad are a huge thing to plan, and you can't chuck a toddler into the itinerary like that. Besides, it's a time for you guys to celebrate your marriage, not tow along a kid, right? Next story. This one's been keeping me up at night. I, 24, female, and my boyfriend, 24, male, like most people, appreciate a good bubble tea. A week ago, we went out and grabbed lunch and teas at a bubble tea place in our town. The restaurant is not a full-service restaurant, but it's one of those places where you order at the front and they yell out your number when it's ready. I always thought the rule was that you tip in sit-down restaurants where you're being served, but not in places where you grab something at the counter unless you leave a little change for a tip jar. In sit-down restaurants, I'm a stickler for always tipping at least 20%. So we ordered, and the woman behind the register told us the total, about $35 for 2 meals and drinks, a bit of a special splurge for us student loanees. I put my credit card into the card reader and then took my hands off and waited for the usual directions to pop up, again, without touching the screen. They came up, as usual, 15%, 20%, 22%, 25%. But then, before I could click skip or touch the machine at all, the button for 20% lit up orange and automatically charged me a $7 service tip. The woman at the register immediately printed and handed me the receipt for $42. Flustered and in the heat of the moment, I awkwardly explained that the price was wrong, that I hadn't selected the tip, and that the machine had randomly added it on. The woman behind the register looked at me with a blank stare and said, "So, do you want to take off the tip?" I said, "Yes, please." The woman had to call over a manager who also gave me a blank stare and confirmed I wanted a refund for my tip. As they were printing off a special receipt in silence, I wanted to melt into a puddle on the floor. The manager handed me the tip refund receipt without saying anything, and I said an awkward, "Thanks," before scurrying off to the side to wait for the food. As we waited, my boyfriend made a joke about hoping the staff didn't spit in my food after what just happened. I asked him if what I'd done was horribly awkward, and he said, "Well, yeah, I wouldn't have asked for the tip back." I told my family about what I did, and my dad disagreed. He said the card reader was clearly broken or rigged, and wondered if the rigging could have been intentional. My mom thinks that's unlikely. My sister said that next time, you should just pay the $7. It's not worth it. Honestly, I agree with my sister. At this point, I'd absolutely pay the extra $7 just to avoid that incredibly awkward situation. But I have to ask, Reddit, AITA? NTA, they weren't surprised it added your tip automatically. They were surprised you called out their bullshit. Have a friend go in there and see if it happens to them too. And if it does, call the police. That's called theft. As a general rule, I'll tip $1 per drink at Starbucks, $2 if it's a complicated GF drink. 20% is only for restaurants, sit-down restaurants. NTA and the manager didn't take what happened seriously enough. If the reader was set up to do that automatically without any posted notice, that's potentially illegal. If the machine was genuinely malfunctioning, the manager should have said so and apologized for the inconvenience. Either way, you are not at fault. If you had not said something, the next person who noticed the tip automatically being added probably would have. Tipping is voluntary, and it is reasonable to expect the system a restaurant is using to allow you to select the amount or opt out. NTA sounds like the cashier picked the tip for you, which would be fraud, or the system is glitching. Either one isn't the price you agreed to pay, and no one should be shaming you for trying to get their error fixed. I'm a former server and I still tip at places that aren't full service, but I don't tip 20% plus on self-serve sort of counters where they just take your order and call out your name with its ready, like Panera Bread, etc. And there's no service after that. That sort of setup should be reflected in the wage, not the customer tips. I'm also an introvert, so that whole situation would be uncomfortable. But I'd be pissed if they tried to steal money from me. Bet they were counting on the whole awkwardness to get extra unwarranted tips from customers who were afraid to say anything. Next story. My son, Alex, is 26 years old. He's been dating Cora, 24, female, for 6 months now. She's a sweet girl and I like her a lot, but there's a problem lately that ended up spiraling into hurt feelings, and I need to know if I was wrong. Alex and I are very close. He lives on his own, but we meet up at least once a month for lunch. He'll come visit me and I him, etc. I totally understand and want him to have his own life. I have my own too, but still I enjoy our time together. The issue is, it seems whenever we do hang out, Cora always tags along. Don't get me wrong, I love spending time with her, but it's just weird that we can never have time, just us. I have a younger son, Toby, who's also in a relationship. While I hang out with him and his boyfriend, I also get some one-on-one time with my son as well. Recently, I invited both of my sons to lunch. I said I really wanted to just have some time with them, as it hasn't been that way. Toby showed up alone. Alex walked in with Cora. I tried to hide my disappointment. The lunch went fine, though Cora kept commandeering my son's attention, so I just sort of focused on Toby. I can tell he was equally annoyed. At one point, I went to go do the dishes. Alex and Toby were helping while Cora took a work call outside. I asked Alex why he brought her. He said she wanted to come. Even Toby was saying, "Come on, bro, you can spend one afternoon away from her." Alex got really defensive and said he and Cora were a package deal. Cora ended up walking in when things were in the thick of it. Toby and Alex were arguing while I was trying to diffuse. Cora picked up on what was going on and started crying, asking why I don't like her. I said that's not true, but it's not healthy if they can't do anything apart. Alex and Cora ended up leaving. I got a lengthy text from Alex telling me that Cora is going to be around and I can't expect to have alone time with him anymore. I truly didn't mean to hurt feelings, and maybe I'm just new to this whole thing and Toby was a unique case. I don't want to be one of those mother-in-laws, you know? So AITA? NTA. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have some time alone with just you and your children. If it happened all the time and you excluded their significant others, that would be a different story. But once in a blue moon is perfectly acceptable. If Cora constantly commandeered the conversation you were trying to have, I wonder what else she controls. There's no reason why she should object to you and your son spending time together without her. So to insist that she come to every get-together is more than a little weird. NTA. To be honest, I'm really wondering about Cora here and her character. Instead of getting the full situation, she starts crying and accusing you of hating her, even though you've hung out happily many times together. She sounds manipulative from that little scene, to be honest. Your son is ridiculous as well. The whole package deal crap is just that. Crap. It's not weird as they get more serious to see her more and more frequently, but he can't let her do her own thing while he has lunch with his mom and brother for a couple of hours. That's ridiculous. That being said, you're not likely to win this battle. Don't bend over for this girlfriend, but expect her to be present as long as they're together. NTA, she should be okay with him having some time with you and his brother. It's kind of weird that she even wanted to come knowing that his brother's significant other wasn't coming. Having lunch together here and there is completely fine and normal, especially if you do other things that involve both of them, and treat her kindly then. They'll get over it. One day, when she has adult kids, she'll understand too. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationship.